After a huge argument on the day of our engagement, my fiancée unexpectedly took the initiative to make peace. She acted all cutesy and coquettish, lowering herself in every way possible, almost making me think she just wanted a fight at the head of the bed and make up at the foot situation, meaning she just wanted us to make up quickly after a quarrel. But the next second, she asked me if I could agree to let her childhood friend accompany her on our honeymoon. She said Makoto was suffering from depression and needed care and companionship. She said life was more important than anything else, and that it was just a honeymoon. Why couldn't I make a little concession? Anyone would think I must have immediately lashed out and furiously scolded Willow, but unexpectedly, I felt no anger at all. Instead, I politely and respectfully smiled as I sent her out the door. I reminded her, remember to bring sunscreen, and don't forget your hat and parasol. Make sure to stay safe. My fiancé cheered joyfully, hugged me, and said, George, you're the best. I'll definitely make it up to you properly when I get back. But what she didn't know was, when anger reaches its peak, you just want to laugh. The weather is getting cold, and it's about time the Lou Corporation went bankrupt. Chapter 1. Hubby, do I look good today? Early in the morning, Willow, dressed in a red dress paired with sexy stockings, was sitting on top of me. Her legs lightly brushed against the skin around my waist, sliding upward toward my thighs. First thing in the morning, my blood instantly surged, suppressing my primal urges. I intended to pull her off me, but before my hand could even touch Willow, she panicked a little and quickly got off. With an unnatural expression, she said, a friend of mine has been feeling down lately, and the doctor suggested I take him out for some fresh air. She hesitated for a moment, then finally explained, it's Makoto. Makoto, Willow's childhood friend. They grew up together, but during high school, Makoto's family business failed, and they barely managed to pay off their debts by selling their house. After moving away, they lost contact for a long time, until about a year ago, they reunited. Since then, 8 or 9 out of every 10 arguments between Willow and me were because of Makoto. She said Makoto had developed depression and needed care and companionship. What a joke, supposedly attempts suicide dozens of times a day, yet still alive and well, because of him. On the day of our engagement party, she abandoned me to face all our relatives and friends alone, just to cheer Makoto up. I was speechless inside. Clearly, all her early morning affection today was just to set up a smooth excuse to leave. I smiled slightly and said, then you should hurry and go. Stay safe. I got up from bed and silently went to the bathroom to wash up. Seeing that I agreed, she seemed surprised. After all, in the past year, just hearing Makoto's name was enough to trigger a fight between us, let alone agreeing to let them go out together. But she didn't overthink it. Joy lit up her face. Clearly, she thought that the little sweetness she threw at me earlier was enough to make me satisfied. She said, it'll be quick, just 3 months. 3 months. Even the honeymoon trip we had planned wasn't supposed to last 3 months. Originally, I had planned to have a proper, honest conversation with her today, either make it work, or break up cleanly without wasting each other's time. Now it seemed, there was no need to bother. I thoughtfully reminded her, remember to bring sunscreen, and don't forget your hat and parasol. She replied, MHM, I've already packed them. She asked, hubby, do I look good today? I replied, MHM, you look the best. She said, that's great. I thought so too. She cheered joyfully, like a child who just received a gold star. Unable to contain her happiness, I quietly finished washing up and getting dressed, then looked at her one last time and said, come on, I'll walk you out. She happily nodded. Along the way, I pulled her suitcase while she clung to my arm. Gentle and graceful, we looked like a newlywed couple heading off for our honeymoon. But I knew, her happiness wasn't because of me. Just as we stepped out of the elevator, she suddenly grabbed my arm. I looked up and saw Makoto standing outside our building, dressed in a suit and holding a bouquet of roses. At that moment, anyone would have thought he was there to propose. Willow's hand on my arm tightened. I could clearly feel her nervousness, her excitement. Her eyes were full of joy. She really cared. I had never seen Willow look at me with eyes like that. She said, all right, give me the suitcase. Don't let Makoto see you carrying it. I'm afraid it'll upset him. I nodded and handed her the suitcase. She stood on tiptoes, trying to kiss me on the cheek, but I stopped her. I said, don't smudge your lipstick. Willow beamed like a flower in full bloom, tapping my chest lightly with her finger. She said, why are you being so good to me today? When I come back, I'll make it up to you properly, to make up for the regrets from our engagement party. Okay. I simply smiled and said nothing. She took it as my consent and happily ran into Makoto's arms. I could tell my compliance made her very happy. She even thought compensating me for the engagement party would be enough. Before, she always had countless excuses to reject me, or simply didn't feel the need to make any. Watching her walk away, arm in arm with Makoto, For the first time, I felt truly at peace. I thought such a hurtful sight would have torn me apart. But this time, there was no pain. If I'm lucky to have her, that's a blessing. If I lose her, that's just life. I choose to let go and choose to free myself. I won't wait for her anymore. Chapter 2. After returning home, I took another look around the wedding apartment. And memories flashed through my mind like a PowerPoint presentation. Finally, everything froze on the image of Willow running toward Makoto. After a long while, I shook my head with a bitter smile and pushed all those painful scenes out of my mind. It was only while packing that I realized everything in this wedding apartment had been arranged by me, and me alone. When I tried to find something that Willow had set up, I couldn't find a single thing. I only took my own luggage. As for Willow's belongings, I had someone pack them up and send them to her old apartment. I left the rest of the wedding home to an agency to deal with. Back in university, it was love at first sight for me with Willow, but she didn't like me at all. It was only after persistent efforts that she finally agreed to date me. Nothing special, just because I was willing to throw money around and humble myself to please her. Whether it was the money I spent at the beginning or the deep affection that followed, I always treated her with endless patience. Because of this, even though my family didn't understand or support me, they still respected my choice, until the day of our engagement party. After receiving a phone call, she simply grabbed her bag and said, "Something happened to Makoto." Then, right in front of everyone, she ran off to another man, just because her best friend called her, saying Makoto was about to commit suicide. That night, by the time I finished handling everything, it was already late. I called her countless times but couldn't get through. She didn't return home until the next afternoon. I immediately expressed my displeasure, but Willow didn't even let me finish before scolding me. "Makoto has severe depression. What if something happened to him? Could you take that responsibility? Could you at least have a little empathy?" At that moment, I finally understood. Everything her best friend Sophia had told me was true. In the photos Sophia sent me, Willow was hugging Makoto, looking like a pair of reunited lovers. What Willow felt for Makoto was not sympathy. In her eyes, even my so-called love couldn't compare to a single word from Makoto about suicide. So, I didn't lower my head and yield like I used to. Instead, I chose silence. My silence infuriated Willow. She smashed the wedding apartment I had arranged into pieces, then cried pitifully by herself. She was certain that I would feel sorry for her, would humble myself to apologize, and would again try to win her back with a bunch of jewelry, bags, and gifts. But this time, I didn't. I just watched her smash things, watched her cry. Then I picked up my phone charger and laptop bag, walked into the guest bedroom, locked the door, and had a wonderful sleep. That night, I slept soundly, one of the rare nights in recent years where I actually felt at peace. From that day on, I knew I would always be able to sleep peacefully. And today, I was woken up by her teasing. The moment I opened my eyes and saw her, I knew she had something to tell me, as expected, to go off on a 3-month trip with Makoto. She lowered herself and made a trade with me. It was nothing more than her charity. She didn't want me interfering with her good time. Still, I thought it was necessary to let her know about her luggage. I dialed her voice call. I said, "I've put your things in your old apartment." Before I could finish, her impatient voice, accompanied by panting, came through the phone. And then curses. "Are you crazy, George? I told you I'm busy." A series of unspeakable noises came through. Then after a pause, she continued, "If you want to redecorate, do it yourself. Don't bother me for the next 3 months, or I'll divorce you." She hung up. I shook my head. Divorce? Willow and I hadn't even registered our marriage. At most, it was just a breakup. No need for all that trouble. After resigning at the HR department of my company, I walked out into the bright blue sky, feeling absolutely wonderful. Chapter 3. Finally, I could leave this godforsaken place that had trapped me for 5 years. If it hadn't been for Willow, I never would have stayed in City A waiting like a fool for 5 long years. Thinking about it now, whether it was enjoying life or going back to inherit the family business, either option would have been much better than staying in City A for her. At first, I had planned to go home after graduation, but she insisted I join her father's company to gain experience right after college, so that I could make a good impression on her dad, win his favor, and then tell him about our relationship. Otherwise, she would threaten me with breaking up. I never expected that this so-called experience would last 5 full years. 5 years, at a salary of 4,500 yuan a month. With my abilities, if not inheriting the family business, I could have easily earned 30K elsewhere. As for her father, forget about winning his favor. I barely saw the man a few times. In the 3rd year, our project made a lot of money, and the team leader put me down for the highest raise. When Willow found out, she exploded with anger, publicly accusing the team leader of favoritism. When I raised my objections, she snapped back. Just because of our relationship, does that mean you expect special treatment? I tried to reason with her, but she cut me off immediately. She said, "Are you trying to live off a woman? You know I despise men who depend on women. If you want a promotion and a raise, earn it with your own ability, not by sucking up to your boss." So I said nothing more. I kept my distance emotionally, focusing all my energy on closing deals to prove myself. But it wasn't until she brought Makoto into the company, and within just 2 months had her father promote him to vice president, that I finally woke up. It was never about my abilities. She just didn't care about me. Shaking off these thoughts, I took a deep breath, grabbed my suitcase, and walked into the airport. As soon as I reached the second-floor waiting area, I ran into Willow. She was holding Makoto's jacket. She had never been this attentive before. Pretending not to notice, I walked toward the boarding gate, but she aggressively blocked my way, then turned and glared fiercely at her best friend, Sophia. "George, what are you doing here? Did you force Bing Bing to tell you where I was again?" She was speaking loudly, and I rubbed my ears impatiently. I said, "I quit my job. I'm looking for a new one." Her voice immediately rose several pitches. She asked, "Quit? What? You think ZX Tech wasn't paying you enough?" Hearing the word salary come out of her mouth felt like hearing the biggest joke in the world. Makoto chimed in sarcastically. "Willow, maybe George is jealous because you're spending too much time with me. He probably just wants to attract your attention. Otherwise, why would anyone willingly quit ZX Tech when everyone else is fighting to get in? Absolutely ridiculous." Yet, Willow believed it. She said, "George, you're getting more and more petty. How many times have I told you? Makoto is a patient. Could you not be so mean to someone who's suffering?" I couldn't be bothered to argue with them anymore, so I asked instead, "Why are you still here?" Their flight was supposed to be in the morning, and it was already afternoon. At that moment, Willow looked guilty, while Makoto answered smugly, "I didn't pack properly this morning, and Willow helped me. We missed the flight, but don't worry, George. Willow booked a private jet." I nodded, tone indifferent. "Oh, you got the flight application done pretty quickly then." I turned to leave, but Willow grabbed my arm again and demanded, "Are you really that eager to see me go? Where are you going? Are you planning to find some side chick while I'm away?" What a joke. She was the one entangled with another man. She was the one who abandoned our engagement party. She was the one traveling with another man, yet she dared to accuse me. I said, "I'm heading back to the capital to catch up with my brothers." As soon as I said it, I felt her grip on my arm loosen. I gently pried her hand off. Sophia's eyes lit up and she spoke softly with a bright smile. "Brother Wong is just going out for a meal with his friends. Willow, don't overthink it. Our plane's ready. Let's board quickly." Hearing Sophia say that, Willow's face softened a little. She tugged Makoto along and left, throwing a casual remark back at me. "George, stop messing around. After you finish hanging out with your friends, hurry back to work. When you come back, I'll have my dad promote you and give you a raise." "Okay." Watching the three of them walk away, Willow clinging to Makoto, and Sophia glancing back at me with some unreadable emotion in her eyes, I almost laughed out loud. Go back to work. Over the years, I had brought countless deals to Lu Corporation thanks to my identity, even if I did nothing from now on. Whether ZX Tech could survive was already a big question. Chapter 4. The plane landed at the Capital International Airport. And right at that moment, Makoto updated his social media. In the photo, he and Willow were holding hands tightly, fingers intertwined. The caption read, "Wherever people who love each other go, they are always happy." The next second, I received a message from Sophia. "Wang Ji, now that you're back in the capital, just relax and have some fun with your brothers. The sunshine in City C has its own special flavor compared to the capital." She also attached a selfie of herself basking in the early morning sunlight. I replied with just 2 words, "Looks great." After returning home to the capital and having a proper talk with my family, they gave me some time to recover and decompress. Thus began my journey of pure indulgence, fishing and joking around during the day, drinking, clubbing, karaoke, and gaming with my brothers at night. I was happier than I ever could have imagined. Turns out, life without Willow was absolutely wonderful. I remembered once when we argued. I bought her a limited edition Chanel Snow White handbag, costing me 150,000 yuan, yet she refused it, and sold it to a second-hand dealer the very next day. 150,000 couldn't even buy me a single smile from her. Meanwhile now, opening 2 crates of Armand de Brignac in a bar didn't even cost me 150,000. And the bar manager and all the staff would greet me with warm smiles and endless hospitality. It was almost too good to be true. Turns out, as long as I didn't love Willow, life was so much easier. Since that encounter at the airport, Willow hadn't posted any new updates. Maybe she had blocked me. But Makoto and Sophia were updating daily. In Makoto's posts, he and Willow had visited countless scenic spots and trendy restaurants, leaving their footprints everywhere. Sophia, on the other hand, mostly posted scenery photos and the occasional selfie, sometimes even with Makoto and Willow's intimate moments captured in the background. The liveliest place was always Makoto's comment section. It was full of envy and congratulations. Such a perfect couple. When are Willow and Makoto getting married? At first, former colleagues would still tag me under those posts with some perfunctory blessings. Later, I noticed Willow would even like Makoto's posts, never refuting those comments. She used to say that we couldn't reveal our relationship because it would look like I had gotten my position through favoritism. Even though we had already planned marriage and even held an engagement party, we remained an open secret. Yet now, she easily gave Makoto what I had yearned for over 5 years, seeing their public displays of affection. If it weren't for the giant green hat of cheating sitting on my head, I might have even shipped them myself. Childhood sweethearts, meant to be together, while my ridiculous 5 years seemed like an ugly scar slashing through their so-called love story, turning me into an invisible, ridiculous clown. Luckily, the girls at the capital's bars were all stunningly beautiful, gracious, and friendly. Even when I wasn't popping open bottles of Armand de Brignac, they would often block drinks for me and throw games to let me win, just to make me happy. Even when I wasn't partying, I would randomly bump into them, once while fishing at a black pit. And honestly, even random new acquaintances treated me with more warmth than Willow ever had. For a whole month, Willow didn't send me a single message, and I didn't reach out to her either. After I removed her pinned chat, I had no idea where her conversation window had sunk to. A month later, she started sending me messages. George, have you eaten yet? When you get home, I want to eat the spicy crayfish you cook. George, it's so annoying. My dad keeps pushing me to go back to work. Can you return to the company and help me deal with it? Every time her messages popped up, I ignored them completely and turned on Do Not Disturb. Later, her so-called concern turned into curses, and even glancing at them felt exhausting. Thank goodness for Do Not Disturb mode. After a month of pure indulgence, I officially returned to work for the family business. Of course, during my vacation, I wasn't completely idle. I had quietly informed all the partners who gave Lu Corporation business for my sake to stop their cooperation. No need to rush. A slow severance was much better. If I cut everything off all at once, I'd end up owing too many favors. Half a month into my new position, I was swamped, barely able to breathe. My family handed me a small company to manage. Technically speaking, I was now a CEO. Unfortunately, unlike the CEOs in novels, who spent 12 hours a day flirting and romancing, I spent 14 hours a day in endless meetings. During this busy time, I basically lived in the office. One night, just as I lay down in the tiny bedroom attached to my office, Willow called. Groggily, I fumbled for my phone and answered without thinking, only to realize it was a voice call from her. Before I could even hang up, her arrogant voice came through. I just landed. I'll be home in an hour. I want to see spicy crayfish waiting for me. I stared blankly, then said, Are you insane? It was already 12:30 in the middle of the night. After snapping at her, I hung up immediately and blacklisted her. Block, delete, the full package. Just after doing all that, Willow called again. I blocked her new number too. 10 minutes later, she messaged me from another new number. George, you actually blocked me. If you don't come back and apologize within 10 minutes, we're getting a divorce. Once again. Block. Done. Just as I was about to fall asleep, the phone buzzed again. This time, it was Makoto's number. Curious, I answered, wanting to hear what nonsense he'd spew. As soon as I picked up, I heard Willow sobbing on the other end. George, why did you sell the house? You promised you would never leave me. Chapter 5. I froze. I had thought it was Makoto calling, but it turned out to be Willow. For a moment, I thought I was hallucinating. I asked uncertainly, Who are you? Hearing my suspicious tone, Willow's voice suddenly wavered with a hint of panic. George, it's me. Willow, where are you? Have you been drinking? Tell me quickly where you are. I'll come find you right away. Now I heard clearly, it really was Willow's voice. Feeling extremely impatient, I said directly, Are you insane? Calling me in the middle of the night and keeping me awake. That house was fully paid for by me. It has nothing to do with you. If I want to sell it, I don't need your permission. After saying that, I hung up immediately and shut off my phone. Then I peacefully drifted into sleep. At exactly 7:30 in the morning, my alarm clock rang. To avoid oversleeping, I had set not only my phone alarm but also a mechanical one. After washing up, at 8 o'clock sharp, I heard my assistant Anna opening the office door. I walked out. and Anna greeted me with a bright smile. Good morning, President Wang. Today's breakfast: quail egg mixed buns, tomato and mushroom soup, yam and lean pork congee, and, 7 steep jasmine black coffee. Anna was one of the talents nurtured by the group, assigned to assist me by my father. Besides Anna, there was also another assistant, David, under my father's arrangements. They were not only to help me manage the company but also to take care of my so-called helpless daily life. This week was Anna's turn to manage my meals. After a sip of coffee, Anna had already neatly laid out the breakfast. I tasted a bite of the quail egg bun and praised. Anna, your mother's cooking is fantastic. This is delicious. Anna grinned. Thanks for your kind words, President Wang. It's worth earning that breakfast subsidy. After joking around, she slid the tablet over to me, full of today's tightly packed schedule. I felt as if my throat was being strangled. Both of my assistants were highly motivated to bring me breakfast, because besides the subsidy, my father promised to count their early arrivals as overtime pay. By 9 o'clock, all the employees were already busy at their desks. Suddenly, the office door was pushed open. Puzzled, I looked up at the woman who entered. The front desk girl hurriedly apologized, saying she couldn't stop her. I waved it off, signaling it was fine. Honestly, on a Monday morning at 9, seeing Willow standing in my office with tears in her eyes felt like seeing a ghost. Given her usual personality, it was impossible she would come looking for me, especially considering it was over 1,200 kilometers away. By high-speed train, it would take at least 6 hours. By the fastest flight, 4. And since there were no night trains, she must have taken the earliest flight. Her messy hair and exhausted face made it obvious she had rushed overnight. I stayed silent. Willow, crying, questioned me. Do you know how long I searched for you? I asked all your friends before I found out you returned to the capital. Why did you leave without saying anything? Do you know how worried I was? I raised an eyebrow and asked. Didn't you see me at the airport over a month ago? I clearly said I was going back to the capital then. You asked my friends. I'd really love to know which blabbermouth betrayed me. Willow looked at me incredulously, murmuring. Telling me your whereabouts is called blabbering, I countered. Where's your Makoto? Before she could answer, Makoto barged in, his eyes dark and fixed on me. George, do you know how worried Willow was when you disappeared to the capital without a word? Is this how you treat your wife? You even sold the wedding house. Now Willow has nowhere to go. Makoto raised his voice dramatically, since the door was wide open. The office workers nearby immediately perked up their ears, ready to enjoy the gossip, since he wanted to stand on a moral high ground. Fine, let's all drop the facade then, I laughed. Makoto, get it straight, Willow and I broke up. We're not married. Wife, don't spread nonsense and ruin my reputation. And that house in City A was fully paid for by me. Selling it didn't need either your or Willow's permission, Makoto shouted angrily. But you were engaged. I stood up, smiling instead of getting angry, and walked toward him step by step. I was half a head taller, looking down at him from above. Engaged? During the engagement party, you staged a suicide attempt. Willow ditched all the guests to rush to your side. And then you two went off on a honeymoon together. Tell me, who exactly was I engaged to? You used depression as a cover, pretending to kill yourself dozens of times but still alive and kicking. Honestly, thanks to you, if you hadn't caused so much drama, I might have really ended up marrying Willow and would have had to deal with a messy divorce later. Makoto was speechless. Willow's face turned deathly pale. I continued coldly. And now, since Willow and I broke up, didn't I conveniently make room for you too? You already went on your honeymoon together. Yet you still haven't gotten her to marry you. Maybe the problem is that you're just not good enough. Hearing that, Makoto, furious, swung a punch at me, but Anna reacted faster, grabbing his fist and shoving him back. No wonder my dad personally handpicked her as my special assistant. This reflex and competence were impeccable. Makoto fell to the ground hard. Willow rushed over to help him up. Makoto. George, how can you just watch your assistant beat people up? Hands in my pockets. I glanced indifferently at the pair on the floor, then turned to Anna and said, nice work. I'll send you a big bonus later. Oh, and didn't you say you liked that new Chanel bag Lucia showcased? I'll have someone deliver it to you this afternoon. Anna's eyes immediately sparkled, and she clasped her hands in excitement. Really, President Wang? You're the best. You're my destined god of wealth. Her exaggerated performance and cute voice made my skin crawl with goosebumps, but in Willow's eyes, it meant something completely different. Abandoning Makoto on the ground, she jumped up and screamed at me. George, who is she? I knew it. You found someone else while I was away, you bastard. As she lunged toward Anna, I stepped forward and blocked her. My father had told me Anna was good with both paperwork and martial arts. But I hadn't realized her acting was top tier too. Seeing Willow try to harm Anna, I growled. Willow, watch your mouth. Are you crazy? You cheated first, and now you think everyone's like you. Anna is my special assistant. It's her job to handle trouble like this. But Willow couldn't hear anything but special assistant, and especially since Anna was a woman. She sneered. Oh, so you're protecting her just because she's your subordinate. Before she could charge again, I shoved her back, speaking coldly. Willow, what kind of crazy are you pulling first thing Monday morning? I told you. Anna is my special assistant. I'm her boss. Protecting her is my responsibility. But you two showing up here making a scene. Should I have security throw you out? Or are you going to walk out on your own? Willow froze. She never expected me to speak to her so harshly. All these years, I had always tiptoed around her, agreeing to whatever she wanted. But that was because I loved her. And now, after being hurt by her again and again, I was completely done. Furious, she screamed. You're protecting her just because you're her boss. Chapter 6. Seeing the state she was in, I pulled out my phone and opened Makoto's feed. Over the past month, he had posted dozens of updates. One by one, I forwarded them all to Willow. I said, people in love are happy every single day, right? Miss Liu, why don't you take a good look at all the lovey-dovey moments you two posted online? Take a good look at how the employees at ZX Tech praised you two for being the perfect couple. When you were cheating, did you even think of me, your boyfriend, even for 1 second? You treated me like a backup ATM. Am I supposed to swallow that silently and be your doormat for life? She completely panicked and turned toward Makoto, yelling. I told you to block him. Why didn't you? Anna rolled her eyes beside me and said, two-faced and shameless, still had the guts to chase our President Wang all the way to the capital. Have you no shame? Aren't you the precious princess of ZX Tech? Please. Hearing Anna speak up, the surrounding employees quickly chimed in. Yeah. What kind of values did President Liu teach to raise a daughter like that? I can't imagine how chaotic that company must be. We better avoid doing any business with them. Shameless. Bringing bad luck to the office first thing in the morning. How could she show up here with her side guy like it's nothing? Cheating and still acting self-righteous. Disgusting. Get out already. You're delaying our work. And now the air feels polluted too, with the shame and scorn growing by the second. Willow turned and fled in tears. Makoto quickly chasing after her. Willow, let me explain. I didn't mean to. I just forgot. Watching them disappear down the hall, I turned back to the team and apologized. Sorry you all had to witness this mess first thing in the morning. Lunch and bubble tea are on me today. Don't let this nonsense affect your mood. Figure out what you want to eat. Just let Assistant Anna handle the tab. Cheers erupted across the office. Morning gossip and a free lunch. Not long after, everyone had returned to work as if nothing happened. Back in the office, Anna continued briefing me on various updates. I sent her the promised bonus red envelope and pulled up the handbag she liked. I asked, this the one you were talking about? Anna glanced at the picture and said playfully, President Wang, maybe just give me the cash instead. Even a third of it would be fine. I chuckled. Don't girls love bags? Anna shook her head seriously. I'm your assistant. I have to carry your laptop and contracts. This bag won't fit any of that. It'd be wasted on me. Seeing her so sincere, I transferred her the full market price, 80,000 yuan, and told her, you handle the taxes yourself. Now go talk to ZX's business partners. Anna instantly lit up. So it's finally time for the Liu Corporation to collapse. Hearing her quote the infamous novel meme, I rolled my eyes. I'm not nuking a mosquito. All right. Let's not rack up unnecessary favors. Just stir up some trouble, rob what we can, and mess with them enough to make life hard. Leave them barely breathing. Anna nodded and jotted everything down. Then she hesitated. Noticing her hesitation, I gave her a puzzled look. She took a breath and asked seriously, President Wang, are you sure you want to go through with this? I don't mean to question your orders. It's just that, back when I worked under your father, he always spoke highly of you. If we do this, ZX might. I cut her off, annoyed. Willow just called you a homewrecker, and you're defending her. Anna shook her head. President Wang, I'm just saying, this is a point of no return. I finally understood what she was worried about. I said, you're still the same as always. But don't worry, there's no chance I'll get back with Willow. I'm not that forgiving. Anna was afraid that if she carried out these sabotage tasks, and I ended up reconciling with Willow, she'd not only waste her efforts but also risk retaliation. She had always put the company first. She was a child our family had sponsored. When she got into Capital University, she even came to our house to express gratitude. During college, she worked part-time to support herself, refused further aid, and survived on scholarships. She turned down other job offers to intern at our company, saying it was her way of repaying us. So many years had passed. I told her everything about my relationship with Willow, the whole tangled mess. After I finished, Anna sighed deeply. After a while, she said, "President Wang, sounds to me like Miss Lu regrets it now." I fell silent. "Regrets?" I said. "Some mirrors, once broken, can't be fixed." Anna nodded and praised. "It's great that you've made up your mind," I said. "So go make trouble for ZX. That way those two will go back to City A and stay out of my sight. I don't want to see my walking regret again." "Yes, boss. No problem, boss. Don't forget your 10:30 meeting. Review the files while I take care of this." Anna left the office with a smile. She worked quickly. By the afternoon, she told me Willow and Makoto had already flown back to City A, with the company running smoothly. And Anna and David by my side. Life over the next 3 months was excellent. I finally didn't have to sleep in the office anymore. One evening after a successful company celebration, David took the rest of the team to a karaoke bar to continue the party. I had drunk too much from all the toasts. So I went home early, letting the team enjoy themselves. Anna drove me back to the villa. After parking the car, she helped me out. As I opened the door, I saw someone standing at my doorstep. The alcohol blurred my vision. But Anna leaned in and said, "It's Miss Lu." I frowned. "Miss Lu? Which client's surname is Lu again?" At that, Willow spoke tearfully. "George, it's me, Willow." Anna held on to me, her voice laced with sarcasm. "That's your former life stain, sir," Willow snapped. "You bitch, what kind of nonsense are you telling George?" Anna's words sobered me instantly. I asked coldly, "What are you doing here again?" As far as I remembered, thanks to my silent approval, Anna had spent the past 3 months making Lu Corporation miserable. Surprisingly, Willow didn't lash out. Instead, she stared bitterly at Anna clinging to my arm and said to me, "George, can we talk? Just the two of us." I replied icily. "There's nothing left for us to talk about." Chapter 7. She looked into my eyes, uneasy, and said, "It's not like that, George. We shouldn't have ended up like this." I asked, "Where's Makoto?" The mention of his name instantly drained the color from Willow's face. I loosened my tie and tossed it to Anna, then spoke coldly. "He took ZX's shares, ZX's money, and started his own company, one that happens to be remarkably similar to ZX's. And now, his new company is even turning around to bite you. Willow, you really outdid yourself. You let that thing leech off ZX all this time. And not only did you not expose him, you helped him feed off it." Before I could finish, Willow reached out to grab my hand. But Anna stepped forward and blocked her. "Miss Lu, please have some self-respect," Willow exploded. "Who the hell do you think you are to stand between me and my husband?" Anna shot back immediately. "Husband? Where's your marriage certificate?" "He's my boss, my personal god of fortune." Willow fell silent, because in truth, we had only broken up. There was no marriage certificate. Anna wasn't done. She cranked the offense up another level. "Miss Lu, rushing over to my boss like this, what is it you want? To rekindle old flames? Or are you really just eyeing his money? You were the one who wanted to have it all. Now you think you can show up and act like nothing happened? Please, my boss is young, handsome, and rich. There's a line of women trying to date him. Miss Lu, stop embarrassing yourself. I'm being polite here. Don't make me stop." But Willow didn't seem to hear any of it. She yelled, "You're saying all this because you like George, don't you? Let me tell you, he's always loved only me." Then, as if she were proud of it, she went on to list all the things I'd done for her over the years. Every sacrifice, every sweet moment, even though I'd already moved on. Hearing it all said out loud just made me laugh at myself. How foolish I'd been. My parents had fought with me over this. And now I think not slapping some sense into me back then was an act of extreme mercy. Truly, those who are loved become fearless. Anna listened silently, then asked with a blank expression, "Oh, so did you cherish him? Then tell me, Miss Lu, why did it all come to this?" Willow was speechless. Anna continued, "My boss gave you everything he had, and you turned a blind eye and threw it all away. A man like him, you never deserved his love." Her words hit Willow like a ton of bricks. She stood there, tearful, shaken, retreating a few steps in disbelief. She whispered my name like a plea. "George, is what she said true?" I replied. Anna told the truth. Even outsiders could see it. "You couldn't, because you were blind." I said no more. I stepped past her into the villa. And Anna followed behind me. We left Willow sitting alone on the gravel path by the door. The next morning, Anna made breakfast as usual. I saw her step outside and have a short conversation with Willow, who had apparently sat there the entire night. Not long after, Willow was gone. While I was eating, Anna told me she'd convinced her to leave. I gestured for her to go on. She said, "I told her, President Wang doesn't like women who are weak and useless." If she didn't go back soon, Makoto would eat ZX down to the bones. And just like that, she left. I couldn't help but laugh. Anna sure knew how to dig a trap. Thanks to her. From the day Willow left, my world finally went quiet. Maybe she gave up. Maybe Anna's hole was too deep to climb out of. Either way, it didn't matter to me anymore, because I had a promise to fulfill for Anna. She had once messaged me, "George, it's been a long time. It's already been 8 years since we last met." I replied, "Anna, my dad sent you to assist me." "Can't believe he was willing to send someone as talented as you," she asked. Then, "President Wang, do you have the confidence to return to the head office?" I answered. "Of course I do," she said. "Then give me a promise, President Wang. What do you want?" she replied. "I'll slay demons for you. You just be my god of wealth." And I told her, "Of course, from now on, we'll buy 2 hams, one to slice, and one to stomp on for fun."